Welcome to the Alchemy of Ascension Season 4, Activation of Awareness, Well-Being, Intimacy, and Self-Mastery. I'm your host, Washela Sananda, and it is my great pleasure today to introduce you to Gail and Gregory Hoag of Metaforms. Welcome, Gail and Gregory.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're looking forward to this time.
Well, I've been really looking forward to this as well, and I'm so excited to share you with my audience. But before we jump in, I would love to just do a brief alignment meditation to get us all connected and present and get us all in the right space, the sacred space for this talk today. So just begin by closing your eyes and bring your awareness into your heart center and breathe deeply into the belly, allowing your belly to expand on the inhale and contract on the exhale. And now bring your awareness to the central sun above your head. Feel the divine light of the central sun moving down into the crown of your head, down to the base of your spine, and then continuing down all the way into the center of the earth, the heart of the Mother Gaia. And now feel her energy coming up into the base of your spine, all the way to the crown of your head, and up into central sun, so that your heart is now aligned with central sun and center of the earth. And we are all aligned in our truth. And my intention for these sessions is always that you receive exactly the information that is for your highest good. And so I invite you to be open to receive whatever that may be in this conversation today, connecting to myself, connecting to Gail and Gregory, and connecting to everyone else watching or listening. We are all a community of light ascending together. And so with that, go ahead and open your eyes, feeling more aligned and more present. And let me share a little bit about my very special guests today. Gregory is a scientist and leading expert in sacred geometry. Gail is an artist, business and health consultant, and together they founded Metaforms in 1985. Upon meeting Gregory and Gail, it is clear that they have a rare relationship full of consciousness and love. 36 years ago, they met and recognized their calling to work with universal principles of resonance embedded in sacred geometry to evolve consciousness. They have harnessed the multidimensional qualities of energy to create technologies and share knowledge for improving health, raising consciousness, reducing stress, manifesting purpose, and clearing electromagnetic issues. And so welcome. I can't wait to jump in with you today. And I'd love to start with the question for those who are new to sacred geometry. Could you share what is sacred geometry to you?
Okay.
Well, I'm going to make it really, really simple to begin with. We live in a universe of energy. Everything is energy initially. And energy then comes into matter. It forms matter. And in order for that to happen, there are certain patterns and rhythms and cycles and geometries, all kinds of things to create that structural integrity so that energy can reside in physical matter. So sacred geometry shows us how that happens. Whether we look at a plant, a rose, the way that a tree grows, the way that our bodies are constructed, all kinds of things we see out in nature, and we'll see it in sacred sites, cathedrals, all kinds of things. There are very specific ways that we can replicate how energy actually ends up coming into physical property. So Greg will get into more of the technical end, but as you can imagine, because everything is energy first, if we are in resonance with the way that that naturally happens, then we will be in resonance with that energy. We will be energized and connected by it. And so that's what's really important about sacred geometry, that it is a doorway for us to be able to connect to the universe, connect to higher intelligence and our multidimensional self. So Gregory's going to get into a little more of the technical and mathematical end of it.
Wow, I
I'm
love
not going to
that.
make it. I'm not going to make it that mathematical, so that it's going to be easy for everyone to understand. You see, sacred geometry is a universal language. And what I mean by that is if you were to go to the other side of the universe and communicate with a being there, you couldn't use English, you couldn't use the equation equals mc squared. You'd have to start with simple number and then the patterns of those numbers, which form geometries. And these geometries are so universal in nature that we see the galaxies out there that we're recording falling into certain patterns that follow octahedrons. We see planets develop around certain sacred principles. So that's what sacred geometry is about. It's sacred because everything in the universe follows this underlying pattern, this underlying understanding. And that's what I was going to share with you a little bit in this slideshow, which can, and then we'll jump back and forth. So we'll talk about how sacred geometry affects our consciousness, our health, our well-being. And what Gail was just saying is source, that energy inside everything, it follows certain patterns and it creates energetic relationships. And what it uses is what I was just talking about: number, pattern, cycle, even time follows very particular geometric progressions. And so when we are working with all of these elements, this is what's sacred geometry. So the ancients worked with it in their structures, as we see at Stonehenge, where this is built around certain patterns that actually relate to the earth and the moon and the sun itself, not only in its orientation, but in some of the actual diameters of the rings. There's relationships, harmonics. And we're all familiar with the pyramids. And in recent years, in the 70s, scientists were starting to write books about how there was energy coming from just the shape of the pyramid itself. So people started experimenting with those shapes of pyramids. And then the Greeks and Romans followed particular sacred principles in their facades, as did the Renaissance church builders. So we've been working with these patterns in many different societies for thousands of years. And this is something that's really interesting, and that's that I'm saying here that measure can be a harmonic of time, can be a harmonic of space. And what I mean by that is if you take something like literally the diameter of the moon, which is 2,160 miles, and that's 99.99% accurate. If you relate that to time, well, we're familiar with the different signs of the zodiac. Well, each of those signs lasts 2,160 years. So the moon is a harmonic of this time, is a harmonic of an actual geometry, the cube, which has 2,160 degrees. So you see, by working with different elements that seem all separate, like time and measure and space, that they can be literally harmonics of each other. And so that's connecting through resonance. So what we're talking about here is the fact that by creating resonance, just the way you would with a C tuning fork that could vibrate with a C tone. You know how that works. You get one going, then the other one starts going. Well, when we start working with these different harmonics in the way we measure things, build things, create things, we fall into that harmonic rhythm of the universe. And so by working with archetypes, these are, divine principles found everywhere. By following those principles, we can start to create a shift in our body, because it's like, as Gail often likes to say, being in nature and just putting your feet in a stream and, feeling the sun and the wind on your face and your body. That brings about a sense of connection and relaxation that can happen in the middle of a city when you have, like, one of the tools we build that works with these vibrations. It brings that vibration into your body.
Wow. Yes. Thank you for that powerful explanation. I really, and it is interesting how it's pervasive. The sacred geometries across time, across, all of the cultures. It doesn't matter, where you are on the earth. You've seen it, you've felt it, whether you knew that's what it was or not. And then that it is a language. And this is something that I've really deeply begun to understand in the last several years, more lately than ever before, in that the universe is communicating to us in these sacred geometries, in sacred patterns, and they're multidimensional, and we can interact with them and receive information from them. And that's just been, it really is a communication.
Mm-hmm.
It is, it's a communication. And with communication, it does something. When we have a dialogue with someone else, or even a dialogue with ourselves, there's something happening, and it gives us opportunities and choices. And as we were talking about resonance before, resonance is so important because, many of us have read all kinds of different books and understand that when we are at a frequency that attracts what we really want, like we want success, we want love, we want joy, we want health, all of those things. When we're raising our frequency to that level, clearly that's coherent, what happens is we bring that into our lives. It's not really magical. I mean, it feels magical, but it's the way that the universe works. We are here to have those kinds of serendipitous experiences. When we are aligned, that's what naturally happens. So sacred geometry helps us because there's so much that's going on that's discordant in our lives that gets us off track. And sacred geometry brings us back to that place, that coherence, that center, that resonance. And when we, like for instance, when you did your meditation just before, that is designed to help people come into that aligned space. And so the tools that we have created over the years have been amazing. And the feedback that we've gotten has been incredible because it's shifted people to have more of what they really want in their lives, to be able to, to resonate with not what's going on outside that distracts them, but instead what creates that real inner clarity. And sacred geometry, it's like if, we were looking at some pictures before of Stonehenge and cathedrals. These were designed to support people to be able to have those connections. When we go into, whether it's in nature or we go into a cathedral, they have been constructed to help us feel that ascension, that, allow ourselves the space to breathe fully. And if we have it in our homes, if we have sacred geometry on our bodies, if we allow it to happen in our inner visions, our dreams, it's more and more coherence. And that ability to be more creative, more universal is, something I think is particularly important now. We're in a time where those aspects of life are so important. And I know of nothing that works as well as sacred geometry to be able to get back to that center.
So how does that work? How does sacred geometry bring us back to center? Because I know I can feel it when I'm around sacred geometry, when I'm at pyramids or, a sacred structure that's built according to those divine principles of architecture. We can feel that in our bodies. But how can it work? How does it work with us? Do you want to share some of the how of it?
I'm going to let Gregory get into the how.
Well, it's briefly, it's working, as I was trying to say, with resonance. So that when you have a geometry,
Explain it.
This geometry is something that I think I may have a slide later on.
But some people can't see it.
Oh, some people can't see it. I'm explaining, sorry. Okay, this is a geometry that's made up of 6 circles. And those 6 circles create 12 pentagons and 20 triangles. And that's called an Icosa Dodecahedron. It's blending those 2 geometries. Well, what happens is when this particular geometry is spinning on some of the devices we've built to spin forms, or it is underneath something, another form that's spinning called the 5G, it creates a field. It creates an energetic field. And because of its particular geometry, this field is literally creating a resonance. And this resonance is creating a harmonic within us. So we start resonating with this. Just the way if you have someone in the background that's complaining about something and they are very angry, their field starts affecting your field. Their anger starts affecting you. Sometimes it isn't a person, but it's just the energetic frequencies that are going through our environment. There's so much coming from computers, from TVs, from telephones, from all these electronics, that it's getting us into the vibration of the electronics, which is very small and limited. It's disconnecting us from the bigger part of ourselves. And when we bring a geometry that resonates with something greater, we start resonating at a greater frequency. So I'm going to show you some more slides, pictures here that will hopefully demonstrate some of this. If I can move forward, let me try in this mode. Sorry, I'm stuck here. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to be showing you in some of these images, I will describe it for those of you that are listening. And that is, to begin with, I want to share this quotation from Rudolph Steiner. Are you familiar with who he was? He came up with Waldorf education. He started anthroposophy back in the early 1900s. He was an Austrian philosopher, and he said, and this is in 1917 where this quotation comes from. He said, in times when there were no electrical currents, when the air was not swarming with electrical influences, it was easier to be human. And he said this in 1917. That was only about 25 years after Nikola Tesla lit up the World's Fair with alternating current for the first time on such a massive scale. So in 25 years, the amount of frequencies that this gentleman in Europe was feeling happening was shifting our ability as human beings to connect to who we truly were and who we truly are. And so that's why he said, for this reason, it was easier to be human 100 years ago, and today it's almost impossible because it takes so much more energy. And think of all the things that have happened in our environment in the last 100 years. You know, all the electromagnetic frequencies that have been added to the spectrum. Now people are worried about 5G. Well, the electricity that was existing in 4G and all the other things for the last 3 generations, 4 generations, has been affecting you, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. And the way it's been affecting us is it's been limiting our connection. Here are a couple of images that are metaphors. One is a iceberg that I've turned upside down because I'm saying the iceberg is like us, because you see only 10% of us is seen in this reality, in this 3D reality, and that the other 90% of us exists hidden underneath the water, just the way the iceberg is hidden. Well, when you think of the top of the iceberg being source, soul, and the bottom, in this case, that's why I flipped it, because all of this other energetic aspect comes before we show up here in the physical. We're following the blueprint of who we are. And so, whoops, I'm sorry. Let me come back to I lost the slides with my fingers. So the iceberg is a metaphor, and I flip it upside down to show that the higher energies came first and that we exist in this reality, but there's so much hidden. And that's what Rudolph Steiner was talking about connecting to. When we connect to the bigger part of ourselves, then we are able to be fully human. Then we are able to be connected to soul. We are able to look at things in this dimension from a higher perspective. And we are able to just work with the energy, that energy of the universe, to feel more coherent, to be able to view ourselves from a higher perspective, so that we are not limited to just the world around us, which we then think of in a way that that world is creating our reality. But when we move to that higher perspective, we can understand that actually we are creating the reality, and we have that potential, but we need to be operating from that vibrational level. And here we go again. So working with, thinking of source as where all the energy comes from, it flows into the physical. Just the way on the right hand, I've got a picture, another metaphor of a boat pumping air down to a deep sea diver. And that airline is his lifeline. It keeps him going. And our connection to source is what offers us all our health, all our love, all our well-being. And so if you understand that, you start to understand that all the difficulties we have in this reality, all the difficulties that develop into diseases, that all happens from blocking this flow of energy from coming through. And you see, blocking that flow of energy is what happens in this reality with all the electromagnetic frequencies. It puts a kink in that lifeline to the boat, to where that air, the source of our life at that moment, is coming through this lifeline, and electromagnetic pollution blocks that flow. It limits it. The stress we're experiencing in our lives, it limits that flow of energy. And so does our emotional body. When we get really upset and angry, those feelings put a kink in the lifeline. And you could add the judgments that we go through, separate us, keep us limited in our small little sense of being. And so do all the toxins. So this is trying to explain how all of these things are blocking our flow of energy, who we are, the opportunity to be fully human, to feel love, to feel joy, to feel healthy. We are blocked by all the elements in our reality. And what sacred geometry does, by following very particular archetypical shapes that resonate with an aspect of the universe, we can bring that universal aspect into our lives, and we start following that aspect that breaks through all of these other impingements, that opens us up to the bigger part of who we are.
Hmm. Beautiful. Yes, I know for many people, meditation, like deep meditations can get us there. I do sun gazing. Sun gazing definitely gets me aligned like that. And for some people, plant medicines, they actually break through that world of geometry. But what can people do, say if they aren't deep meditators and they don't want to do plant medicine or things like that? Do you have a way to assist people who are looking for some support to help them align in all of the crazy frequencies that we are inundated with every day?
Exactly, and that is precisely what we feel we've been after all these years, because we look at sacred geometry, we love to teach about it. However, what's really important is it's the energy. It's the way that we can support people in raising their frequency, in maintaining that connection that will make a huge difference in their lives. So we have designed all kinds of different geometries, everything from like what Gregory was showing before, these different three-dimensional shapes that can be hung in a room, that could be spinning in a room, an office, a meditation room, a healing room, all kinds of places, a bedroom. There's some beautiful shapes that we meditate under, and for people who love to meditate, it takes you even higher. It takes you deeper into that connection and more quickly, so that you're being bathed by that magnificent energy and that opening to those higher dimensions. And then, so we've been doing this for 36 years. And when we first started, it was all about those different shapes. And after a while, we postulated that what if we could take what we have in those shapes and condense it into something that still maintains the three-dimensional qualities, because we understand that we are here as three-dimensional beings. I mean, we're multidimensional, but we're not two-dimensional beings. And a lot of sacred geometry that people enjoy is looking at a two-dimensional image. Well, that doesn't have the energy that a three-dimensional object has. So we went about finding a way to create something that you could wear, like the pendants that Gregory and I are wearing. They're called heart companions. And you wear them at the heart center, because a lot of what we are really wanting to do more and more is live our lives through that heart energy. So we're not just up here in the mental realms, and we're incorporating the wisdom of the heart, which opens up so many vast connections. And by doing that, or we have something that, you know, for people who like just putting something in their pocket, holding something in their hand, it is an energetic tool that helps them maintain that alignment, that connection. And the whole thing is really about connection, even down to when Gregory was talking before about electromagnetics and 5G. There's so many people who've come to us and said, oh my gosh, what do you have to protect me from 5G? Well, you cannot protect yourself from these things, because they are out there. And if you were to shut them off, you would be in something like a Faraday cage. You wouldn't be able to use the internet. You couldn't use Zoom. You couldn't do all the things. You couldn't use cell phones, any of that kind of stuff. And you would not be in a very healthy situation. However, what's really essential is the connection, because the divine connections are more coherent and more powerful than all of those other distractions. And that's what's so important. The more that we are trained and able to maintain those divine connections, the more our lives will be on point. And so that's what these pendants, for instance, have had a radical shift in people's lives. Their relationships improve, even things like being more clear on purpose, intuition, and creativity, just really going to the next level. Serendipitous experiences, the most natural thing in the world. Things start to happen because we're aligned with that higher aspect of who we are. So we've gone through a lot of processes in order to incorporate three-dimensional geometries and different antenna systems, so that we can create that kind of resonance, that coherence that's so important in supporting people.
And what you were saying about meditation, that's really true and nice, but meditation is not something that you just do in the morning or on Sundays or in the evening, but to have a field on your body where you can be in that state of consciousness all the time. A meditative state of connection while you're doing all the things you're doing in the world, you can be coming from a place of being. And plant medicine is another, where it can open a doorway. It can put your head out a window and you see, oh my gosh, there's so much to see, so much more to understand and to feel. But then to step through that doorway and be in that other space, to step through the window and see that reality that's around you all the time in a new way, in a loving way. And that's the purpose of these tools that we're talking about. And we think of them as tools because basically it's something like a hammer that could help you build a house. But in the end, when you're done, you built the house, not the hammer. But try to build the house without the hammer. It's a support. It's learning to work with these geometries and bring them into your life in a positive way. So then you can take, as we just saw here on the screen, all these other impediments in your life and get them out of the way.
As we've been talking, I wanted to share something with you. This was just several days ago. There was a young man who bought one of the pendants, and he was really struggling. He was having a hard time, and Gregory talked with him a number of times just to give him some orientations and help him gain the confidence to allow this to really work for him. And so he sent this email back to us, and I'm just going to read it really quickly. And he says, Gregory, I'm so connected. I can't thank you enough. My mom's business is suddenly picking up. I feel safe for the first time in many years. This tool has opened up geometric doorways into my destiny. I'm blown away. I'm going to keep on chipping away at a grateful attitude. This tool is literally the hammer that helped me build the house. I'm building it. But what have I accomplished without the hammer? You have a sacred calling and you have done so much good. I hope one day I can help you the way you've helped me. Thank you, and thank you. Amen. So, we get people sharing these stories with us because they're experiencing something that they haven't experienced before, or that they remember, or they've experienced at peak moments. And what we want to do is not experience this at peak moments, but as a regular way that we operate in our lives. And that is real and possible. And that's, really, what we're after with all of the tools that we create.
Yeah, and I love that, just that phrase that he felt safe. I feel safe. Right now, so many people don't feel safe, and the broadcasts coming across the news don't make us feel safe. So to have that support is truly helpful. So I love that you created this. And I know you have many testimonials. I've been on your website and I've heard some of them. And so if for somebody who's maybe a little more scientific, can you kind of give the nutshell version of, like, what is it about this pendant that's making it so helpful, that's having people feel safe and aligned?
Well, aligned with, you're aligning with vibrational aspects of the universe that are coherent. A lot of safety is dependent on the fact that we feel solid, we feel coherent, we feel protected is a word human beings work with a lot, and they think of it almost like building a wall around yourself. But you don't protect yourself by keeping all the bad guys on the outside. You protect yourself by raising your frequency to a level that the bad guys can't interact with you, can't affect you, can't hurt you. I mean, that's our sense of with germs as the bad guy, quote unquote. And here we are, we raise our vibrational frequency until we no longer are able to be sickened by them because of our health. Well, our internal coherence, when we are solid inside, then we feel safe. The safety, the protection comes from inside out, not from outside in. So when you are connected to the source of your being, when you are connected to your heart space, you feel that love, and it doesn't make any difference what people on the outside are doing and saying. You are in that reality of your heart space connection to all that is. And that is a remarkable sense of empowerment. And that is a remarkable sense of clarity and focus and ability to create and manifest from there.
So I want Gregory now to show you and describe what we've done with these pendants, because there's so much inside. And we've gone through, over the many years that we've been doing this, we've gone through a number of different styles and iterations and found that we needed to create more space for more of these wonderful antennas. And it's quite a process. And for the people out there who really love technical stuff, this is great. I mean, Gregory loves that part of developing these products. So go ahead and share.
You know, and the way we develop them is we work with higher guidance. Both of us have been working with guidance for, 40, 50 years. And I went through a lot of Kundalini that opened me up. And so I started bringing through the information that I was being shared with. And in these pendants, this is what they look like. We make them for pets, for children, for adults. They have two sides, so that one side toward your body is moving the energy down into the earth, is very grounding. The other direction is moving your energy field upward and is more mental and higher focused. But inside we've got all kinds of crystal mixes and geometries, antenna systems made out of copper, silver, gold, titanium. We have toroidal systems. That's like energy donuts, 9 of them. That's the way energy flows. And we have those in there made out of fiber optic material, carbon fiber. And all of these are put together and then energized inside our chambers on our land. And here, actually, this is one of the first times I'm showing you the inside of one of the pendants and some of the coils and some of the different shapes that go in there. But in this particular image, I'm going to talk about the crystalline mix that goes in there. This is what you're seeing, the different colors of, I have bismuth and molybdenum and garnet, and I think peridot may be in there, beryllium, all types of materials. And I put that into that little mix over there in the corner. That's just one of the elements. All 14 of those are mixed into that piece over there. And I also have an oscillating crystal. That's a crystal that is vibrating at a very particular frequency, and it's cut that way. That's what used to happen with crystal radios, is you could cut a crystal to the right frequency so that it could transduce, bring energy down from the radio frequency into an audible range. And we have a frequency that's vibrating inside this crystal, and it's right there inside the pendant. And so that's just a couple of the elements that are going on inside with all those other things.
And also with the geometries that are both that you can visually see on the pendant and that are inside of it, what Gregory has done is taken the three different ways that it goes. So I'm going to let you explain it better than I can, but it's looking at the ways that you look at a geometry from the vertex, from the point, from the plane, so that it then gives us enough information. Again, it's all about that information. It relays enough information to us, to our beingness, so that it translates as a three-dimensional object. And he's going to show more of what that means.
So what Gail was saying is that on the surface and actually inside in many places of these pendants, you're going to see two-dimensional displays that are in copper, and they are on a non-conductive background of fiberglass. And what happens is, just like if you were to build a house, you would need plans that would show you the x-axis, the y-axis, and the height, the z-axis. You know, you couldn't just look at the floor plan of a house and have someone build it unless they knew how high it was supposed to be. They need all the elevations. So when you take a geometry, and here I have a cube, very simple cube, and I've picked this one because it's easy for everyone to relate to, because we're all familiar with cubes. Well, you see, if you look at it from the point, you get a hexagon with 6 lines in the center. And yet when you look at it from the face, you have literally more like a cube or a square. And you look at it from an edge, and you have a rectangle that's in a very particular proportion. You have 2 little rectangles on both sides that are in, if I were to divide the long side by the short side, I would get the square root of 2. And looking at the square from this perspective on the edge, I also have a rectangle that divides into the square root of 2. So what that means is that by taking very complicated geometries, I can project them on a flat surface from those 3 different perspectives, and I can build an antenna system that vibrates with our 3D reality, even though it exists in a 2D world. Does that kind of make sense a little bit?
Wow, that's fascinating. I'll come back here. Fascinating. And I love how you're showing, the way you can just, your perception changes as you turn the cube, and then it looks like almost like a different formation in certain angles. And it's amazing what you've put inside of the pendant, the heart connector pendant, to have all of these elements functioning and working for the person who's wearing it. So thank you for sharing some of the inside, literally, of what you're doing. And I just wanted to mention, I love that it's heart connector, because, while so many of us are all about activating the pineal and the third eye and our intuition, it's really when we activate the heart and align with that I feel like everything works. And I've learned that in my own work.
Well, the thing is, the heart is the doorway. This is the portal to your higher self. So when you're wanting to be with higher self, that's where you go through the heart to achieve that connection. And your higher self comes into this world, into your body, through the heart space. And then that's why the heart has enough cells that are similar to the brain cells to be a relayer, to be able to relay that information from source, from universe. When you're open to universal knowledge, it comes into your brain from the heart center. But the heart isn't the vessel that's putting it all together. It's the doorway, the portal, the opening to the bigger part of yourself. That bigger part that I was showing with the iceberg, the way you access all aspects of that is through your heart center and opening there.
Yeah.
And you know, it's so important now that we really anchor that energy into our lives. You know, here we are. We've just emerged from a very unusual time, you know, where all of the old ways that we were familiar with got disrupted. It changed all the patterns and how we really thought about having relationships. People were having relationships on Zoom. We just the other day were with a couple that they met the night before the big lockdown. They were living in 2 different states. And from there on, they could interact on Zoom until they realized they had a fabulous connection, got together in Hawaii for a month or so, and were able to develop their relationship. Well, that's not what we used to do. And so here we are. And the way that I look at it and the guidance that I get, and I'm sure this is true for you as well, is we're not going back. We are moving to a whole nother field, another level of what we're capable of. And we're going to take pieces of what we did before, pieces of what we've learned through this past 1.5 years experience of COVID. And we're going to really work with those higher dimensions of who we are. It's very important to access our creative self, our intuitive self. I know I'm speaking to the choir here, and be able to bring that in, you know, make it concrete, make it real, manifest it, ground it. And all of these kinds of structures, because we need structure in our lives, are particularly important and effective as we move forward with these wonderful new opportunities that are moving in our direction and that we're moving into.
Yes, and that's so encouraging. I agree. We do have an incredible opportunity to ascend our frequency now. And so while we're getting close to the end of our time together, I really want to make sure that we let people know that where they can find you, and that that you're offering a free gift. And your free gift is 3 amazing meditations. Do you want to tell us about those?
Yes. And these really are very much aligned to what I was just talking about with taking the next steps, letting go of where we've been, shedding that skin, and moving on. And you know, it's really a natural thing. You know, if you look out in the plant world, I was actually just thinking, as I said, shedding the skin. You know, a snake will shed its skin so it can actually grow a new skin, and that's perfectly fine. And so let's get comfortable with that. And there are certain things that we can do to support ourselves in that process. And so these are 3 fabulous attunements. They're short, they're easy to follow, they're guided, and they will support you in working with that. And if you decide that you would like to get some of our products, that will assist you even further, because you'll be able to anchor that more and just really move further into that growth that's that you should be excited about and enjoy.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the free gifts. And then you also have an amazing offer that I'm excited to share about. And that is for anyone that feels like they want one of the heart connectors. You're offering 15% off to our viewers and listeners. And I'll be sure to include that in the show notes as well. So anyone listening can tune into the show notes and get both your free gift and the 15% off. And I'd also love to know, because I haven't got mine yet. I'm going to, and I was looking at the options, and So it would, like, which one is best for me? How do I know? How do I choose? Because there are a few different options.
So I'm going to let Gregory kind of tell you, because so many people will actually, email us or message us or call and say, well, what do you get would be the best one? And Gregory loves to tune in and share that with people. However, it's important to notice that the pendants on the inside are the same. They have the same technology. They have two sides. We make everything by hand in our shop in Lyons, Colorado. And we have these absolutely wonderful people who are craftsmen in doing this work. And then at the end, after they've put this all together, we have a chamber actually two chambers on our land. We have a beautiful piece of land here with vortexes, and it's very, very special energy. And when they're in that chamber, they are like being cooked. They're able to receive that frequency, that resonance, and maintain it because of all of the different antenna systems. So the difference is going to be what you see on the front. It's not a front or back. It's the star side or the earth side. And there's different gems that support us in our alignment. And I'm going to hand that over to you now.
So you see, gems play a really important role in our lives in that they work with the fourth dimension, the dimension where emotions hang out, and they move it into the physical. So the gems that are on the pendants are fulfilling that function. So I like to start someone with at least the chakra pendant that has all 7 of the chakra gems on it. So you're activating everything from the crown through your throat, heart, into your root chakra. And then the rainbow has those 7 plus an additional 7 gems. And that just adds to the mix, adds more energy points for the body to connect to. It's like the body's at choice, and it will go to the energies it needs at the moment. If the focus is working with the heart center, then the gem emerald is there to support it. And in the rainbow, you have emerald and peridot and chrome dioxide, 3 green gems. And then there's one called the highlight, which I'm not sure, we're offering the rainbow and the chakra.
No, all of them.
All of them. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the highlight is working with higher vibrational gems, even working with diamond. And so those are the choices gem-wise, and then you can get as little as 1 gem, which is a garnet, which is a beautiful gem to work with because it activates the root chakra, and it's resonant with the heart and with the crown at the same time. So garnet is a beautiful gem in that way, and is also, so it's going to be less than the others with more gems. And as Gail said, we put these in a chamber on our land. We have several chambers. If we had time, I could show you some of the chambers and the geometry that I was sharing earlier of the Icosa Dodecahedron. That's a geometry that's found around the planet. And it's found that the grid of the planet, the energy flow of the planet moves through a geometric pattern. And where our land is in Colorado, we are able to link into that pattern so that our chambers are producing frequencies. They are on for 24 hours and off for 72 and then on again. And so they're in this cycle, creating a pulse through the circulatory, the energetic system of the earth itself. And so our energies that we're generating here are pulsing through that. It's connecting everything. People wearing the pendants wherever they are pick up on that energy, and are part of that rhythm. So the chambers also add to it. It smooths the energy out. It helps create the connections. And then we've done so many tests with these pendants. Scientists have measured all types of internal organs, the health, the balance of what's going on with, say, your liver, your spleen, your heart. And we found that if someone is off balance, by simply having the pendant on their body for 5 minutes, everything comes into balance. So that's one of the reasons people start feeling better, is their body, because of these energies flowing through, is actually coming into a space of balance, a space of homeostasis in the middle. You're not extremely overactive or underactive. And so we've been able to measure that and demonstrate that and see how the aura, the energy field around the body, where there are holes and leaks, can fill in with the energy that's flowing through the pendants. And all of this in the end just creates an environment that is perfect for you to be able to finally take a breath and grow and be present, because the presence is there all around you. I mean, that's why the body goes into balance, is it's being present. The energy flow that is moving is cleaning out what isn't working and moving in the potential for what can work. And your intent, the way you work with it, as I said, like a tool, allows you to start shifting your body, shifting your life by focusing the energy on what you intend to happen with your life, just as you do with a meditation to open up or to bring in that love. It starts allowing that to come into your life all the time.
Beautiful. I love all of that. It's like, it sounds like having a guide with you all the time, helping you balance your energy, helping you align, and helping you get centered. And that could benefit, well, everybody, probably.
And the exciting thing is, you're the guide.
Yeah.
The guide is you. The guide is the fullness. All these other beings, all these other guides are aspects of you. But when you open up to the fullness of you, you get to recognize everything, and you get to recognize yourself.
Yes, indeed. I love it. Well, that is the end of our time together. It went so fast. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I hope to have you back. This was fascinating, and maybe next time we can go even deeper. But thank you so much for sharing generously in everything that you've shared today. And I highly encourage everyone to go get those free meditations. And if it's calling you, to check out the discount that they're offering on the Heart Connector pendants. And with that, just thank you so much, Gail and Gregory. I appreciate you so much, and all the work that you're doing in the world.
Same. We're all here together doing this. It's an important time of co-creation. So thank you for all you're doing as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
So it's iconnecttoall.com. That's going to be on.
I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in, and namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.